And a big aloha and welcome to Talk Story, Maui's longest running talk show. 30 years here, and I'm catching up with Katie McMillan. We're kind of remembering the last time we got together, and we were talking about this.
I think in 2002.
And the last time you came in for an interview, you were working with a lovely place up in Makawao, where I remember working with you and going in your lovely place, which you had a passion for books. I actually looked a little bit on your background, and did you get started in Virginia? You went to school in Virginia, didn't you?
I grew up in Virginia. I went to school in Virginia, and after college, I got a job working for a publishing company called Hampton Roads.
Hampton Roads is a good publishing company.
Yeah, I figured you would know them. So
yeah.
I happened to go to Atlanta, which was the American Library Association conference that year, and right across from our booth was a little publishing company in Makawao called InterOcean.
I remember InterOcean.
And
we were just talking about the writers' conferences and all the things. But you really always knew you had a passion for books and writing.
I remember how I got that job. It was a friend of mine, when I was doing an internship in New York, a friend of mine kept suggesting that I read this book called Conversations with God.
Oh, is that it?
And I was super resistant and not interested for a while. And lo and behold, if one day I didn't just start, I picked it up. I said, well, let's give this a try. And then I just got immersed and loved that book so much. And then I found out that the company who originally published that book was hiring. So it was, I kind of went after that job from a place of passion and from that experience of a book transforming your life.
I got a chance to interview him 2 or 3 times. He did come a couple of times.
Really?
Yeah, he came and did talks for a while. He was coming to Maui. Now he's more doing stuff in
Ashland, Oregon. Yep.
Yeah, and he's doing things at his place there. But that was quite a groundbreaking book, and at that time, very controversial. There were many religious people going, "How dare you? How dare you?" But he did, and he was really very strong in it, and it was very interesting. Then there was a book about his life, kind of. I think there was a movie even done about him once.
There was, yes, and he did multiple books, and I did get to meet him ultimately and work with him, even though
you got to work with him
a little bit. We had him speak at maybe it was Book Expo America or one of the big book trade shows that everybody in the industry goes to. So that was great. But it was through, being there at the conference that I ended up meeting the company from Maui, which ultimately,
Amazing.
It was books that brought me to Maui.
And that's why you came.
And that's why I came. And then right when I came, I think maybe I was on island for 2 weeks and somebody said, do you want to go do an interview on Cindy Paulus's radio show?
Amazing.
So you were one of the first people that I met. I literally knew no one.
Amazing. And now you have such a powerful network of people that you work with. And and by the way, if you want to, I'm doing Facebook Live. If you want to see Katie's beautiful face, you can see her on Cindy Paulo's Facebook. But then, you knew you loved books, but books have totally change the whole. Just think of since 2010, what's happened to the book industry and how it's changed, and it's gone through a major revolution. And in a way, it's kind of coming back again. It's just like
and I mean, it's definitely personally has come back into my life full swing.
Yeah.
But I remember when we closed the company after about 6 years. Just at that time, this was social media was coming into play.
Yes.
The independent
more
bookstores were
e-books.
closing. More and more ebooks.
Yeah.
Digital media. We weren't really equipped with our small staff to adopt to the change. And our distributor, which was the biggest independent distributor of books in the country, went bankrupt.
I didn't know they went bankrupt.
PGW, which they don't exist anymore,
Wow.
but it was a big deal at the time. So we actually decided to close the company, and it was just such a shift in, I think, the whole publishing industry, and only bigger companies, really kind of survived, or like our company, our books were sold to a bigger publishing company.
Wow.
And we shut the door. So I moved on into other things.
Oh, Winifred's watching.
But it's
Hi,
Winifred.
We were just saying how we love you.
So it's cool to be back in the book world now, just like the industry is. I do think that is, it's kind of been a thing where the more digital things become, there's also this kind of hunger for the analog and, you see
the real thing,
like the book in your hand or the, the record versus the Spotify download, those kinds of things. So I know for myself, I've been really much more of a book reader and much more happy to have that physical book in my hand.
Which brings us around, of course, to a big congratulations, because, I mean, everyone that knows you was thrilled that, and this January this year, you were appointed to Book Trust, and you took over Book Trust here on Maui, and that's a huge, important position. I always say to people, you can't read an ebook to a child. It's not like you can sit there and share a children's book and read an ebook. It doesn't work. You have to have the pictures. You have to have, they want to look at the pictures. They want to touch the pictures. They want to hold the book, And so I do have ebooks for I have 6 books out now. And none of them have made money, but I still
it's often that way. It's for the art.
When talking about the Writers' Conference, and I spoke to someone there who was in charge of, I don't know, it was Hay House, I want New World or something. And they said, you have to have 10 books out before you can really start to make any money. It's like, well, I've got a few more to go still. If you don't go bankrupt first, right? It's like, it's a nice
or your
hobby.
House doesn't fill up with copies of your books.
So you got to have a big garage, that's for sure.
Exactly.
but you understand, and you have, I don't know how many people realize that, how long you've had a passion for books.
Yeah.
And so when the Book Trust opportunity came about, how did you first hear about it and decide to be a part of it?
I heard about it from the former Hawaii director, Shea Goodfellow, and I knew that she was planning to step down to raise her family. And I had been looking, I'd been freelancing for a while, so I'd been looking for, something that I could put my time and energy towards that really gave something back to the community and did something that was positive. And as soon as I heard about Book Trust, my eyes lit up, and I just immediately knew this was exactly the opportunity that I had been looking for, because it really is, I mean, on a personal level, it's a return back to what I'm passionate about. But I think I couldn't have even realized, initially, but down the road, as I started working for the organization and actually going and seeing some of the schools that we serve, really realizing that, literacy is not something we can take for granted. And actually today, the Annie E. Casey Foundation put out their Kids Count data book.
Can you explain what those initials stand for?
They're a nonprofit organization that kind of studies all across the United States. They have like state profiles on things like literacy rates and math comprehension and poverty levels and all that, just kind of overall statistic, teen pregnancies. I mean, just everything looking at kids, like understanding what are the kids in your community going through. And so that actually just came out today. And Hawaii, out of the all the fourth graders in the state, 68% are not reading at grade level.
Wow.
So that is staggering.
Yes, it is.
I can say that it has gotten better. We were worse than that in years past.
Wow.
So there's actually an improvement in literacy, but that's still a huge number. That means more, than half of all the children in the state in Hawaii public schools are not reading at the proper grade level. And
so I think have to wonder what happens in school when you have half of the children in Hawaii not reading up to level. How that must put them at a disadvantage in their school classes and tests and everything.
Exactly. So that's what Book Trust is all about, because there's probably many reasons for why that is, but poverty is definitely a factor. We know that. And in Hawaii, there are approximately 115 Title I elementary schools in the state. So those are all schools where 50% or more of the kids that go to that school are on free or reduced lunch. So their parents qualify or meet the federal poverty guidelines. And so there's some schools, and some of the schools we serve, that almost 100% of all the kids are in that category.
So what impact, when you see this, because you're very involved in this, when you actually feel the ripple of effects that happen when there's this kind of level, I mean, first thing that comes to my mind is that parents aren't going out and buying extra books for their kids.
Well, some of them can't. And, well, they can't, one, because they can't afford it. They can't, two, because there are no bookstores. We serve elementary schools on Molokai.
But I do want to give a shout out. Yeah. The Friends of the Library do a beautiful job.
Yes.
And they do give away books to kids at certain events and things and on Halloween.
But some of our schools are far from Friends of the Library.
Yes, yeah,
you know, they're rural, they're on Lanai, they're on Molokai, they're
that's true.
Hana, they're, you know, they're in remote parts of the state where it, you know, if there is a library there, the hours are limited. There is no bookstore. And the more poverty that a child comes from, the more difficult it is just to be able to have access to books.
Absolutely.
And a lot of schools, you know, even don't have the capability to send all their books home with the kids. So,
really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think a lot of them have the libraries, but some of them, you know, I've heard
check the books out and take them home.
If they have to, they may not have enough books. They may share books with multiple classes. So they're not necessarily assigned. And so the other component to this is that, you know, we really serve preschool through 6th grade, Title I schools. We are trying to come from a place of sparking passion and joy. Kids are assigned books to read or read in the classroom, but they're often told what to read. And when a kid comes from a home where their parents can't afford to buy them books or they don't have access to books, they don't get to have that experience where they get that joy and excitement over picking out a book that they chose themselves based on something that they're passionate about, not something that someone's telling them to read. And they get to take that book home and they get to own it. And that interest-based choice is really the secret weapon of Book Trust, because that is, you know, where the magic happens. So
explain how that works.
So our partner is Scholastic, and many people, including myself, know about the Scholastic Book Club and have used that, have had opportunities to take part of that in their classroom. Initially, when Book Trust got founded, it came from a place of, why don't all the kids order books? And then we realized that, you know, not all the kids can afford to buy the books. So in a very succinct way, we provide the Scholastic catalog to every classroom, and kids are able to pick out up to $7 of books per month. So some books are $1, some books are $5. So a child may pick out one book that they're interested in, or they may choose to pick out 3 or 4 books they're interested in, just depending on the price.
And they don't have to pay for that.
And they don't have to pay for it.
Wow.
And not only that, the Book Trust program works with teachers to create a classroom of literacy celebration. So when the book box arrives in the classroom, there's that excitement and joy. Yeah. Here's the books. This is so cool. And then the book box arrives and every kid gets to get the books that they picked out themselves.
So it's a group feeling too.
It's a group feeling. And I've gone to a couple classrooms, and I've actually participated in a school camp out where Book Trust was a part of it. And just seeing that pure joy from these kids over how excited they are to get a book of their own is just like, wow, this is totally worth was something that's, you know, important to put your time and energy behind. I think, you know, there's obviously many more components to literacy than just excitement around books, but I think that's where it starts. And when you know, maybe have difficult situations in your home life, you know, books are the way that you can escape and imagine and dream. And that can be the foundation for a whole new beginning for yourself. And I just think it's really powerful.
Did you have some books when you were young that you just love and wore out by reading and reading?
Yes, absolutely. So many. I mean, I remember being really young, and I loved looking through my parents' encyclopedias. And I loved looking at all the pictures of tropical islands.
Really?
I didn't know then that I would. But you know, you really think about
the horse book. I remember one time saving literally all my piggy bank money, and going into a store. This is in L.A. and with quarters and pennies, paying for a book on horses, and it was like I didn't count on the tax. I'd saved up enough money, but they were so nice. They gave me the book, and I mean, I just wore that book out.
Yeah.
But you know, those books are inspiration.
Their inspiration.
Their imagination at work, their dreams, their ways children get sparked and ideas. And it is different with an ebook and online than it is reading a book. And kids can do all kinds of video games. They can do all kinds of things online. They can do YouTube, and some of that's great. I know a lot of kids have learned to play ukulele through YouTube and everything. But there still is this magic to books.
There is a magic to books, and I think there's a magic to kind of immersing yourself in that book. And sometimes through at least electronic means or through your phone or an iPad, you get distracted. You jump from one thing to the next.
Oh, yeah. It's very distracting.
It's very distracting.
Speaking of that, I want to say hi to Gina Martinelli and to my friend Scott Johnson and to Greg DiPiazza and all the people watching.
Hey, everybody.
Right yeah. And if you're just listening in, I'm talking to Katie McMillan. I've been wanting to talk to you for months, but you have a very busy life and you haven't had any time till now. You literally have been just going nonstop with Book Trust. Yeah. You also help with indigenous plants and working with plants. I know you were just over.
I just did a volunteer project on Oahu for that, so that was great.
Right, and you had someone from the head office of Book Trust has just been here.
Yeah.
Because Book Trust, did it start in Denver, Colorado? Where did it start?
Yes, it really started in Denver, but the founder of Book Trust, Adrienne Schatz, lived here on Maui. And so initially when she was developing the program, she consulted with Maui teachers because taking that idea from why don't all the kids order from the Scholastic catalog, realizing that not all kids can afford it, how can this partnership create improvement in literacy around the state? And so she did a lot of work with the schools here. So I do feel like we're special in the Book Trust world, even though Book Trust is a national organization, that like some of our roots and some of how the program has developed over the years really centered here in Hawaii.
Well, that is really magical and wonderful too. But at the same time, there's another aspect to it, which any person who knows nonprofits knows this conundrum. You can have a great idea, and obviously Book Trust is one. But there's always got to be that extra element of how do you raise funds and how do you keep an organization like this going.
Yes.
And that's where you come in.
That's where I come in.
That's where you come in. I mean, partly from TEDx and your friends, and you've really developed wonderful networks here.
Yeah.
And you put on a very successful fundraiser this last year.
We did. We had our fundraiser at the Four Seasons back in March. We raised, I would say, net around $230,000.
Whoa!
Which was
huge.
Did
you say $230,000? Wow.
People on Maui are amazing. So many companies and organizations sponsored, and we had so much long time support, which was wonderful for me because I was very new at that time and didn't have a lot of time to build new relationships. So that was really, really compelling. And it just showed me how many people, really step in to, make sure that our keiki are supported and that they have all the tools that they need to succeed. Because, we know if you don't, if literacy is a problem for you by the time you get in 4th, 5th, 6th grade, it gets harder and harder, and for every year you get behind, it's like double that to catch back up again. Very frustrating. It's very frustrating
for a child. Yeah,
yeah,
and they start to feel like they have an inferiority complex if they don't.
If they can't read, yes, absolutely. Right. So the components to Book Trust about celebration in the classroom, choice, also giving teachers a way to earn points through the ordering through Scholastic, where they can actually get resources for their classroom. So it's another way to get things that they might need.
We have someone watching on Facebook who's from the Isle of Wight in the UK, and he's also running a nonprofit, and he brought up a good point. He says another way and a good idea to encourage children is to write their own books with characters, and that's true.
That's very true.
Yeah, absolutely is true. And I like that idea because once they have that in their own mind, I think it takes it to the next step of them being able to express something in their own life and get it out through the book. And a lot of children don't have that fantasy connection except maybe in their minds, but they can do it through characters in their books.
Absolutely. Letting their imagination flourish. That's a great idea. And it's, helping even parents to to become aware of how important that is, and to foster that at home when the child is at home reading their books, making sure the kid has time to read, that
That's
reading
a good
is
point.
encouraged inside the home is really, really super crucial. As I went and spent some time at some of the schools, I realized, and I think we all probably know this, whether or not we have young kids or not, that many parents, parents or a parent in Hawaii are working multiple jobs, doing everything they can to make ends meet, and they're not always able to be highly engaged with their child like they might want to be. So, the reading is a great opportunity for parents to work with their kids, and for parents to encourage their kids to read. And part of what we do is help teachers, and we also go in and help educate parents on the importance of literacy. And
how do you do that? You have them come down to it?
The teachers do some of that work they interact with the parents, and then I've actually gone out to some of the schools. I went out to Honaunau Elementary on Hawaii Island a couple months ago and participated in a school camp out, and it was the most amazing experience. They all the kids from the community came, all the parents.
When you say camp out, it was at a park?
Overnight. No, it was at the school.
Wow.
And they had each little section by grade, and they had all these activities. And one of the activities was for the parents to bring the kids into my classroom, and I got to help the parents help their kids pick out a book. So the Scholastic catalog was passed out. And for a lot of the parents, because that was one of our newer schools that we just brought on board, a lot of the parents, were like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how my kid was getting these books, and this was like an opportunity for them to actually realize that their kid is given the opportunity to discover their own passion and interest, and that these books are theirs to keep, and that this is something that happens inside the classroom, and this is something that the kids are really, really excited about. And it was really cool to see how excited the kids got and how that made the parents feel. You could just see their eyes light up.
So how did you find out, and do you know if all the schools on Maui know about this and are participating in this? Because there's lots of smaller...
we serve 14 schools in the state. So we are on Maui, we are on Oahu, Molokai, Lanai, Hawaii Island. So we're not on Kauai yet. So we serve 14 schools, but like I said, there are like approximately 115 Title I schools in the state. So we're still, we're only serving a small number of these schools. And
so what do you need to take it to the level where
to the next level? So that's what I'm doing this for, is to help bring it. We've got schools on our waiting list. Ultimately, we need to develop enough funding on hand so when we bring on a new school that we have the funding to support that school for X amount of years until we can have we just have to make sure every single school is solidly funded. Mm-hmm. So we always say it's about $100 per kid per school year. So that's how much it costs to fund one child. Approximately $2,500 funds a classroom. Obviously, that depends on how many kids are in each class. Some schools we serve, pre-kindergarten through third grade, and then some schools Haiku School just expanded, so we're now all the way through sixth grade. Every single grade this year will have book trust. So and also to point out that at some schools that are Title I schools, maybe not every child qualifies or whatnot, but it's once we're in the school and once it's a high poverty area, every child in the school gets book trust.
Wow.
So it's a great equalizer.
So is that why you have to do these? You do the fundraisers?
So we do the fundraisers to make all this happen. So we do, we do events and we do various, appeals and campaigns. And
you're trying to get some grants.
Grants,
now, right?
Yeah. I've been doing a lot of grant writing. And we have some great, corporate support and grant support that, funds that fund, some of our most rural areas, and they are kind of stepping in to fill in the pukas when, resources and things like that might be lacking. So it's been really great.
So how can people help?
People can help by making a donation, and they can do that via our website at booktrust.org, and there's a donate button there. And if they'd like to make a donation, just make sure that you put in there if it's for Hawaii. So it goes to our Hawaii program. And I'd also certainly love to speak with anybody who wants to find out more information about the program. Maybe you want to sponsor a classroom, or maybe you want to sponsor a school. But my cell phone number, anybody can contact me anytime, is 808-283-4120. And that's, be happy to chat or meet if you're interested in talking more. I'm also looking for businesses that might be out there that want to engage with elementary school students in the classroom and help them read their books. And so we're going to be doing some events this fall when school gets started, where members of the community can, go out and read with the kids and get to experience this firsthand. It's the most exciting, fulfilling thing you can do. I know when I've gone out and done it, it's just like your heart just melts. You just feel so good to spend that time to see how happy the kids get to get their books, and kind of helping to facilitate that with the teacher is a really rewarding experience. So,
and you've already got way in advance the book, the big fundraiser next year for Book Trust is going to be in February, right?
February 15th at the Kailani.
That's my birthday.
Valentine's Day almost.
Yeah, the day after.
Yeah. So we just secured the date. We don't have our tickets up yet, but we will very soon. So if you have your calendar out, definitely mark your calendar for February 15th and come out.
It's a very important thing, and you obviously have a love and an enthusiasm and passion for this, which is what it takes to make anything work, you could have done a lot of things, but it seems like this was a perfect dream come true fit for you.
It is. I think we all kind of, try to seek out a career path in something that we're passionate about and something that we find meaning in. And
but you were kind of raised in
your
whole background was kind of brought you in this direction, didn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
It like you see, it's almost like you don't see how the stars are lining up until you kind of get there, and you're like, wait a minute, that just all makes perfect sense.
Well, it does, and we don't always get to see that happen, especially when people want to do something good, and what it takes to actually make something good happen. I mean, you did TEDx for years, and that was a very, very good thing, but it was not the kind of thing that was able to be sustained, Yeah. But then, so what a natural progression to finally move on to do this book trust thing and help the kids.
It's just really, like, when you really stop and thinking about it, we have one opportunity to do it right. I mean, each child has one opportunity to go through school. That's it.
Yeah.
And then you have to make it on your own. And it's just so important to level the playing field so that, it doesn't matter, what your financial status is, that every single child has the opportunity to fall in love with books, that every single child has the opportunity to fall in love with reading, that books are a part of that kid's life. It's a fundamental it's one of the crucial building blocks of what ultimately will help someone succeed in life. Without literacy, I don't know what, it's difficult to make anything happen. It's a door that's shut automatically.
Once you open that door, amazing things happen.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to finish up my Facebook site here because I'm getting ready for my next interview, but it's so much fun talking to you.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
I mean, we're in this world in this day and age where I only know what you're up to with Facebook pictures. Well, that's true.
I know we're all. Right? That's why it's always good to reconnect in the real world.
It is. There's a difference, and it's funny how people don't talk much anymore. And even with phone calls, sometimes people have to ask to make a phone call. These days, can I call you? Can we talk? But that's where it's come to. But I totally believe in what you're doing and what you're saying, and I really do know it makes a difference. And you're starting it this year, but you think of where this is going to go, and the effects of what's going to happen to these children that you're going to see in 5 or 10 years when they get ready to graduate. You know. And how it's impacted their life.
Yes.
And I think it's also great that the teachers have this door of opportunity that's
Absolutely.
opening. Because the teachers have such good intentions.
Oh, they do. And they have a tool that helps them bring joy to their classroom.
It is so difficult.
Yeah.
Well, I've got another Katie on the